everybody? It's Jason here. I'm going to talk about masks today, some personal experiences. Here I am in a beautiful southern Arizona. Never knew that surrounding, in the midst of the deserts, there could be such pretty forests that you can see behind me. But anyway, I've been in this area for a little while and I've had some experiences with masks, so I want to talk a little bit about that and some disturbing trends that are arising. I'm going to talk about corporate chains and their no exception mask mandated policies that I have had the pleasure to experience firsthand. And so anyway, let's jump right in, starting with Goodwill. So I went to Goodwill and there's actually like a checker at the door whose sole job is to ensure that everyone entering has a mask. And there's two aisles, one for entrance and one for exit, so he's standing right at the entrance side. And this is having the entrance exit like this. A lot of different stores have done this, and a lot of them have the checkers or the counters to count to make sure they're not having more capacity than they say they're supposed to have for proper social distancing guidelines and whatever the reason for this is. But in the case of some stores, these people are basically mask police hired by the store to just the sole job of making sure that everyone entering has a mask. So I'll go to enter in without a mask, as I typically do. This is in the city of Sierra Vista, and I guess there's a city mandate. It's very loosely enforced, and a whole bunch of stores we'll get into in a minute don't enforce their own policies. That's pretty common around the country. I've been in many places where they're just putting the signs up to avoid getting in trouble with the law. They have to put the sign on the door, and so they do, but they don't do strict enforcement. However, there are some chains that are really cracking down, and they're going above and beyond what even their own state guidelines state, from the governor, emergency orders, from their own county ordinances, from their own city ordinances. They're going beyond the requirements, which some might say is a violation of basic constitutional human rights. So anyway, he's standing there and nice enough. Excuse me, sir. Yes. You need to wear a mask to enter our store. Okay, I don't wear a mask. Well, you can't enter the store. Are you discriminating against me? No. Okay, do you have a mask to give me then? And he hands me a package. It's like $5 and wants me to buy it. And I'm really confused. So you are going to force me to wear a mask, but then you're going to force me to buy it. That sounds like discrimination. To me, that's kind of ridiculous. Do you want to speak to a manager? Yes, I would absolutely like to speak to a manager. This is insane. I definitely want to see what's going on here. At least if you're going to require a mask, you should hand out the mask for free. Otherwise, you're forcing a patron to make a purchase to enter your establishment, which is insane. Anyway, I wait a while. Manager comes out. So I'm nice the whole time. I ask her what's the deal. Oh, it's a corporate policy. Okay, well, I understand that, but most places I've been that are really strict on requiring masks at least have the courtesy to offer masks to the customers, so they don't have to make a unwanted purchase just to enter the store. No, we're not making you we're not forcing you to make a purchase. You can go next door and buy it. Excuse me, and this is literally what I said. Masks don't grow on trees. If I have to buy a mask, whether it's from your store or the store next door, you are requiring me to make a purchase to enter your store. No, that's not the case. We're not requiring you to buy a mask. We're just requiring you to wear one. Okay, but they don't grow on trees, so I have to buy one. I think I'm just gonna go get an article of clothing and tie it around my face. No articles of clothing. Wait, what? No, you can't have a piece of cloth around your your face unless it's a approved piece of cloth with loops, sold specifically for that purpose. Basically, you can only wear something you have to purchase from all the people profiteering off of this pandemic, if you believe it's actually a pandemic. But okay, so there's another issue, Miss. What about health issues? I have trouble breathing when I wear the mask, and I know under the governor's recommendations there's no statewide in Arizona, there's no statewide mandate, but there's an emergency order with recommendations that allow businesses and counties. It used to be at the beginning of this, the governor actually banned the local ordinances from enforcing mandates, which is what they're supposed to do, protect people's rights. But then he changed it up, put an emergency order. Instead of mandating it himself, he allowed the counties and cities and businesses to mandate, and that's what's going on. Pretty wide scale, quite a few counties and cities have their own mandates now. But nonetheless, most of them have exemptions for health issues, and this is how it is across the country. This is how the CDC guidelines are. They specifically state that certain people with certain health issues should not be wearing this. And in a lot of counties, like just one county over where I also had a almost exact same experience with another Goodwill there in Pima County, it specifically states in the order that people are exempt to have health issues, and they do not need to show any proof of their health issue. It can be whatever health issue, and they don't need to prove it. As long as they say they have a health issue, they are exempt under the law. That's what the order itself says. That Goodwill, same thing, and they don't care about the health issue. So I didn't go into that Goodwill. Well, I did go into that Goodwill very briefly. I put the mask over my mouth just to see what was in the store, and there was nothing good. And I left almost immediately. And this Goodwill, no. I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. I have trouble breathing. Aren't there exemptions under the city mandate for health issues? And no, it's a store policy. It doesn't matter what the mandate says. This is a store policy. There are no exceptions. You may not enter the store without a mask. That's it. No exceptions. None whatsoever. So to me that seems like discrimination. So I'm just gonna not visit your store. But it's pretty ridiculous that you're not allowed to use a piece of cotton like a shirt right here. You're not allowed to put a shirt over your head, even maybe two shirts like this, to make them feel good, make them feel safe, whatever the case may be. That's not allowed. But if you get basically a piece of a shirt cut out in a specific shape, sewed with two loops, and put those loops around your ears, now suddenly the exact same material, that's okay. That's what you have to wear. You have to wear something that has been specifically constructed, designed, and sold. That's the key. Sold to make a profit off of this pandemic. That's pandemic profiteering. If this was really a really bad pandemic and these people actually cared about health and safety, they would not be forcing us to make purchases. They would be giving these things away. And if a piece of cloth covering my face protects anybody, then a piece of cloth covering my face, like this, also protects people, whether it has loops and a certain specific shape. Okay, so that's that. I'm like, all right, I definitely, who's the higher up that I can go to? I need to see what's the deal. I just want a reason behind this. You can't just say store policy. There has to actually be a reason behind this store policy. And if you're going in violation of the own recommendations of the CDC that gives exemptions to particular people, say, for example, who have trouble breathing when they have a mask on, asthmatic people, there's quite a few exemptions, and they don't have any exemptions, not even for kids under 5 or under 2, depending on which mandate. Different mandates have different age levels, but kids under 2 are not specifically warned against wearing masks by the CDC, and most mandates in most states, cities, counties, and most stores respect that. Goodwill does not respect that. If your 1-year-old does not have a mask on, you may not bring them into the store. So it's a little disturbing where this is going, just a little bit, seemingly a little too similar to the type of thinking that got Nazi Germany into the place where it was. These people are simply following orders. They have no reason behind it, no rhyme or reason. They're not even following the own health recommendations of the own authorities that are recommending they do this. If it wasn't for the CDC making these guidelines, they wouldn't be putting these guidelines, these mandates in their stores. And yet they don't even follow the guidelines of the CDC. No, it's not about what the actual health and safety claims. This isn't about health and safety. If this isn't like clear and obvious to everyone, these inconsistencies and just absolute violations of human rights, I mean, I don't know what else kind of proof people need to see that this isn't actually about health and safety. This is about getting you to do what they say. Store policy says, therefore do. There's no reason, no justification, no explanation. The only thing they can say, at least in this case with Goodwill, is this is corporate policy, we enforce it. That's it. No exceptions, none whatsoever. So, okay, I get the number. I want to call, talk to someone higher up. I just want an explanation. Well, guess what? You don't get to talk to someone. No, you don't get an explanation. It's kind of like censorship. No, they don't have to tell you why they kicked you off. You're just gone, canceled, boom, done. That's what's going on with the masks and the new corporate policies, specifically with Goodwill and other stores that I'm going to get to shortly. So they leave. You can leave a complaint. You can leave a message, and let them know how you feel. Well, I don't really care about them knowing how I feel. I want to understand why they're doing what they're doing. So anyway, I didn't leave a complaint. There's no point in worthlessly in leaving. There's no point in complaining about this stuff. I just want to talk to people and share knowledge and get knowledge. I want to know why they're doing it, and I want to tell them, an actual human being, not a complaint line. So, okay, so that's Goodwill. So I'm not going back to Goodwill. In Montana, they had a mask mandate in Montana when I was up there over the summer. Goodwill's had the signs over their stores, and yet you could enter the store and there were no, mask police at the door. They didn't kick you out if you didn't have a mask on. So I don't know if this is just like an Arizona Goodwill thing or if they've just updated policies. But it's strange that businesses, they're not the only one now. There's other businesses that are just now putting in these policies, these strict, no exception, mask mandated for all customers no matter what policies. They're only going in now, almost 11 months after the peak of pandemic deaths subsided. 11 months later, they're finally getting around to putting in these strict no exceptions things. But yeah, I'm sure it's about your health and safety. That's why they didn't do it for the past 11 months. They just started doing it now, like Ace Hardware. So that's another place I went to. Needed to get some propane. Don't have propane at Walmart. Why do I go to Walmart? Well, they have the cheapest propane, camp stove propane around, and never once have I seen anyone be hassled by Walmart. So not a great fan of Walmart policies, all the Chinese products. But, they don't dehumanize you to the point where, if you have a legitimate health concern, health issue, they're not going to say, sorry, you can't come in the store. At Walmart, their specific sign actually says masks are required except for certain exemptions. And those exemptions are kids and people with health concerns. And, I'm sure a lot of people that are just not wanting to wear a mask are going in. And by the way, even if you're completely healthy, there's a whole list of documented harms that masks can and sometimes do cause in a good percentage of the population, specifically for people who work at these places all day, every day. Lowered blood oxygen, increased carbon dioxide. All of this is verifiable. I've written extensively a long 2-part post on all the documented harms, potential harms, that have even been talked about in mainstream media. This is not a secret. Mask mouth, rashes, fungus in your mouth growing, causing infections, bacteria, and then possibly even leading, not possibly, for certain can definitely lead to bacterial pneumonia. But that's another subject. But the point being, there are very many legitimate health and safety concerns, even for healthy people. I have worn a mask several times when the mandates first went in Montana when I was up there, just to see what it was about. I wore a mask long enough to see. I know what's going on. I know what people are dealing with when they wear a mask. I know how it restricts your breathing. I know how in hot climates it's hot and humid and it's unnatural. And I wore it for a couple trips in a grocery store for maybe an hour, and so I know firsthand how a mask feels, and I can attest to the fact that it definitely does restrict breathing. At the very basic level, it restricts breathing. So if people are fine with that, that's good. But for those who are not fine with that, you are in most cases exempt for health reasons. You do not have to wear a mask, and you often do not need to produce any documentation of your health issue. Some require it, but there's constitutional grounds. But the fact that even many of these insane executive orders that are not even passed by legislatures, by Congresses, they're put in by single people, like the governors in most cases. The fact that even most of these executive orders list this sort of exemption, and then stores are going above and beyond that and the CDC recommendations to say no exceptions whatsoever, is just a little bit of a disturbing trend. So back to ACE. So I go to ACE, and there's a sign. It says, new corporate policy. No one allowed in our store without a mask, no exceptions. For those who are not able to wear a mask, in other words, those who refuse out of whatever reason, and those who have valid health concerns, health issues, they can do curbside pickup. Okay, well, that's a little bit better than Goodwill, because Goodwill would not go in and bring stuff to you. Obviously, it's a lot harder in a thrift store, but it's crazy that a thrift store like Goodwill, that's its customer base is typically poor people, and here they are not even willing to offer a mask. They're forcing you to buy one for poor people. That's just a little crazy. It just seems a little backwards. So obviously Goodwill's not very good. They don't have goodwill towards men. They have goodwill towards these, technocratic agendas that are going, and this is setting the stage for, I would argue, far crazier, more dangerous policies to come in the future. But at ACE, so I go into ACE anyway, I don't wear a mask anymore. I'm done. I'm done playing this game. I'm not even going to put a mask on for 5 minutes to go get a product. If you don't like it, I'll find somewhere else to shop. Most places respect that, especially in Arizona. But no, even in California, actually, in the outside of, many places in California, we're fine. Starbucks, though, is really bad. Starbucks requires masks, no exceptions. However, in Starbucks, at least in California, at least they were kind enough to offer you a free mask. So at least they're not discriminating against you in that form of forcing you to make a purchase, but they're still forcing you to wear a mask. And they, too, also had the similar thing. I tried covering this just out of respect because I was just I was just in there for like 1 minute. I'll cover my face with this. I'm not going to wear one of your muzzles. No, they wouldn't allow that. They give you a literal cotton mask that's made out of this material, but you can't use this. So same thing as Goodwill. But in ACE, they were a little nicer than Goodwill, but they definitely stopped me and would not allow me to go shop. So I asked them, would they please get the propane for me? Walmart's out and I need some, and they had some, so that's awesome. So let's get some couple propane for my camp stove. The 1 pounds or whatever. And okay, so they're like, I'll go and wait outside. And then she comes back and tells me they do have the propanes. Do I want them? Yes. So she's like, here, just stand inside the entryway. I'm like, what? So it says right on the sign, for the safety and health and safety of our customers and our employees, you must wear a mask to enter this establishment. But apparently, that's only beyond the entryway. in the entryway, they specifically want you to wait in the entryway while they go get your stuff, and then take your credit card, swipe your card or cash, whatever you're paying with. They want you to wait there in the entryway, and I literally had probably close to, I don't know, at least half a dozen to a dozen people. It was a good 10 minutes while she went and got the propanes and rung me up and everything, and I'm just like smiling inside, like, this is crazy. So if somehow I'm a threat to these people without a mask, why am I allowed to stand right in the most congested place of the entire store while people go literally right back within a foot of me, exposing themselves? Isn't this, according to their logic anyway, isn't this dangerous? Like, shouldn't I be outside? But no, it's not about the health and safety. I mean, how much more obvious can it get? You're not a threat to the other customers when you're standing in the entryway. We're at the most congested area of the store where people are going in and out. But suddenly you're a threat when you step beyond the entryway and start shopping in aisles, probably mostly alone, not close to other people. It really makes so much sense. But thankfully, not all the stores are like this. So from my experience, Ace Hardware, Goodwill, and Starbucks are three of the absolute worst as far as towing the agenda, towing the establishment line above and beyond what the establishment even requires. So what's this going to mean when they start to ask people to show proof of immunization to enter a store? Well, I bet you these are the stores that are going to be the first to jump to say, yes, store policy, even if a state mandate, for example, or recommendation specifically gives exemptions, like vaccine exemptions to, particular health issues where Tony Fauci himself recommends certain groups of people don't get the vaccine, certain religious exemptions that have always existed for vaccines. Not that you should need a specific reason, you should just be able to decline someone injecting you with their own concoction of untested chemicals and who knows what's in there. Definitely stuff from fetal line, so, if you're against abortion, that's another religious reason to not want to use a vaccine, for example. But, this is just how it's going, so you can probably bet your bottom dollar that these types of stores, the Starbucks, the Goodwills, the Ace Hardwares, that are going above and beyond what they're even required by law to enforce, and not even law, required by unconstitutional executive order. They're going to be the first ones to jump to do the same thing with vaccines. Doesn't matter if you're exempt, doesn't matter if you have a valid exemption to the vaccine according to their own, rules. You're going to have to show that proof of vaccination. It's coming, and that's the disturbing trend that we're seeing, and that's where things are going. But thankfully, there's stores that, even chains, corporate chains, that have mask mandate policies, corporate policies like Walmart. It's on all their stores, and yet they don't enforce it. They have a policy of not enforcing it, and they even, at the very least, even the most strict Walmarts around, those that will enforce it to the strictest degree, still allow what they claim to be legitimate exemptions, which are valid health issues and children. Also, Safeway, even I went to a Safeway here, and same sign on the store. They have a checker at the door. I don't know if they're keeping count of people. Nice guy, and I wasn't the only one. And they don't say a word about the mask. They're cool with it. And then you go a step further, and this is what I really respect here, is pawn shops and a lot of small local thrift stores and other local restaurants and local businesses, especially in Montana, down here in Arizona. I've seen various different signs on the doors. Ways of resistance. They put a sign up so they can't get shut down by the state, but the sign, instead of saying, masks are mandated, you must wear a mask, they say, we are required by the governor of our state or our county or whatever the case might be, under this executive order, we're required to mandate masks for all shoppers in our establishment. There are health exemptions. If you are not wearing a mask, we will assume that you have a health exemption and we will not ask any questions. If you're not wearing a mask, you are welcome to shop in our store. That's, in my opinion, the way things should be going in America. It used to be the land of the free, but that's sadly not the way it's going for some corporate chains. So just my advice, do what you want, but if I was you, and even if I wore a mask out of, respect, compassion, fear, whatever the case might be, why you're wearing one, if you don't support these businesses discriminating against poor people, against people with valid health issues, against little children, then I would say these are some good chains you might want to be boycotting. Starbucks, Goodwill, and Ace Hardware. I'm sure there probably are others, but so far Walmart, I've never had issues in any Walmart. And I don't particularly like Walmart, like I said, but, in times like these, you gotta deal with what you gotta deal with, and I'll give my business to any store that has what I'm looking for, that does not dehumanize me to the point and disrespect my basic human rights to the point where they will not allow someone with a valid health issue that will say to your face that if you have a valid health issue that exempts you, they're still not going to allow you in because of store policy. And sorry, there's no one that can give you an explanation. It's just store policy, and that's that. So Safeway, another good example. Many local stores, great examples. Almost every pawn shop I've been in, great examples. Like those signs that I told you about if you have health exemption, feel free to use our store, or if you don't have a mask, we will just assume that you have an exemption under the order. Great way to go, great way to resist if you are a store owner and you don't like the idea that you have to mandate a mask. That's a good way to, safeguard yourself against being shut down and respecting the rights of your customers, and basically telling them that, look, we welcome you in our store even if you're not willing to wear a mask. Probably the best sign I've seen so far is a local pawn shop here in Sierra Vista. It said, mask policy. If you want to, wear one. If you don't want to, don't wear one. So, people are finding ways to resist this madness. Sadly, they seem few and far between, but I can almost guarantee you that out the people who do not want this to be the way it is right now, we're the silent majority. And if you want to make a difference, especially on this issue, just have the courage to take off your mask and just don't frequent the stores that, aren't going to respect your basic human rights. They aren't going to respect your health. They aren't going to respect your children. They aren't going to respect your unwillingness to pay to have the specific mask they want you to wear because they want you to purchase stuff being made by all these big corporations that are making millions off of this pandemic while you have your business shut down, while you are required to wear a mask purchased from them, not your own. You can't even cut a piece of clothing and tie it around your face. Nope. It has to look right. It has to be approved, state approved, store approved. However, there's no guidelines. There's no FDA oversight specifying what guidelines must be to be considered safe and effective. No, it can be any piece of cloth cut out, but it has to look right. It has to be made specifically for that purpose by one of the big companies that's profiting off of this. Anyway, that's going to be the end of my rant for the day, but hopefully this is give you some inspiration. There's a lot of people out there, I see them all around, they're not wearing a mask and they're not getting hassled most of the places they go. Whether or not there's a mandate, it's irrelevant. When enough people don't do it, they can't enforce it. Stores are not going to kick everyone out if everyone all at once decides they're not going to wear a mask. Goodwill would go out of business. And from what I'm seeing, that would probably be a good thing. Because we need, places that offer cheap used goods. This is a good service. The owner of Goodwill, they claim it's a nonprofit. He's a millionaire as far as I last checked. It's not a nonprofit. The owner's making a lot of freaking money, and he obviously is in bed with the people who are bringing you the new technocratic normal, where masks, we are being openly told, must be worn for the rest of our lives, where you will not be able to get a seat in a restaurant if you are not vaccinated, where you will have a social credit score that if you don't comply, it will go down and you could lose your job. There's already employers that are mandating vaccines. Many employers are already mandating masks all day, every day. No exceptions. There are also stores that require masks and they allow face shields, plastic face shields that the CDC says not recommended because they do not work to protect you against anything and they don't protect anyone else. And yet these corporate policies apparently don't care about what's even approved by the CDC's ridiculous nonsense. Sometimes their guidelines of what's good and what's not good is pretty nonsensical, but even they have their willingness to tell you that face shields are worthless, completely worthless. We can't even recommend face shields, and yet stores who are supposedly doing it for their customers' safety, health and safety, but you can wear a completely worthless, non-protective plastic face shield, but you can't put this over your face. No, gotta have a face shield. Anyway, it's pretty crazy. Crazy days, insane world. Hopefully you can stay sane and free out there. And if you don't like the way things are going, just withdraw your support from those places that are having the most, that are driving this agenda, the places that have these no exception policies, the employers that are mandating that you get a vaccine. That goes against all, like Geneva Convention type protections that say no one can force you to undergo health procedures that you do not approve of. Simply the antithesis of basic human rights. And that's where we're going, where there are no human rights. Where we're going. You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's what Klaus Schwab wants. He wants to own everything while you own nothing. And he wants Bill Gates, he wants everyone to take his vaccine. No exceptions, even though it is now being shown that the vaccine does not build immunity, does not offer immunity, it does not stop the spread of the so-called virus, it does nothing. Kind of a little lot like the masks. It does a whole bunch of nothing. But you have to do it for health and safety. But only in certain stores and only in certain parts of the stores and those who are legitimately exempt or not even exempt. It makes a whole lot of sense. It's definitely a sign that this whole pandemic is 100% real. It's deadly, it's scary, and they care about you. That's why they don't wear masks all the time. They don't practice social distancing. They keep their own businesses open while they tell you have to have yours closed. Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Because apparently in this pandemic, only us, peasant serfs, can spread the virus. The elite politicians, those forcing all these insanity, all these rules down our throats, they apparently are exempt to this virus. Anyway, thank you to all the businesses out there that still allow human beings who are unwilling to dehumanize themselves by covering their faces and restricting their oxygen flow, and for respecting those people who have legitimate health concerns, and for respecting the rights of little children. Thank you to all those businesses. Hopefully more of those businesses will continue to flourish and get more business as the ones who are driving this agenda begin to see that they're getting less and less business, because in this country there's still a lot of people out there who care about freedom, basic human rights, and basic humanity, and basic respect for people's health conditions, and for the rights of little 2-year-old children who in no way, shape, or form should ever be forced to wear a mask. That's child abuse. That's my opinion. Do your own research. I'll have links to all the information I'll have links to my recent posts about masks and dangers, and a lot of stuff about the pandemic I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Hope you found this video informative, entertaining, useful in some way. Share, subscribe, thumbs up it, like it, whatever. Do what you can to get the information out there, and just don't let go of your humanity because some greedy corporation tells you have to. Just find another place to go do your business at. That's how I see things. Anyway, you don't have to agree with the way I see things, but you're not going to force me to wear a mask. I'm sorry. And there's a lot of us that feel that way. You're not alone. And if you're sick and tired of wearing the mask, just take it off. You don't have to wear one. No one's putting a gun to your head making you wear one. There's a lot of business out there that do respect your rights. Till next time, this has been Jason. Peace.